Thank you so much, guys. We had two very amazing sessions, and now we will be moving forward with our third session. So I have with me Shobha Mohan, who is the founder partner of Rare India, Pallavi Agarwal, who is the founder and CEO of goStops, and this name sounds like Anubhav calling Anubhav. So Anubhav, founder of NotOnMap, and I'm Anubhav, volunteer of Headstart Hyderabad.
Hi, Anubhav.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Hello, everybody.
So we'll start with Shobha. Maybe I mean, the questions are pretty brief, but we would like you to introduce yourself because we don't think we'll do much justice to it. So, handing over to you, what to maximum 2 to 3 minutes, if you can say, if you can talk about yourself, your
Okay.
journey, and how you started this. What were you doing previously? What intrigued you? And so, over to you, Sobha, and then Pallavi, and then Anubhav.
Thank you. First of all, for everyone listening in, thank you very much for joining in. Uh, I'm a I'm an Andhra Pradesh girl. I'm from Visakhapatnam, not very far from Hyderabad, and I was a journalist in a previous life, but not for very long. Travel happened to me very organically. I got married to a travel family, and somehow journalism morphed into writing about offbeat places, and then it became a passion, and finally it became my calling. I started, though I entered the travel business in 1995. I started Rare India in 2004. It was an independent personal initiative to bring to light not very well-known places, um, and to create value for across the chain, from both from tour operators to the hotel owners, to experience providers, and finally to the destination. That was the basic thing. I wasn't so self-assured in 2004, but I must say the blueprint for what I set out to do happened to me. I think Lady Luck was smiling, and what happened was the first hotel that came on board in 2004, two things were not so, they were not so popular. Experiential travel really was not out there, and bespoke travel did not exist in its present frame of mind. And domestic travel, particularly, that focused on these things, was just not heard about. I'm not on speaker view. I don't know if it's going to make a difference, Anubhav.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
It's fine. Okay.
Yeah.
So that is how it started. That is how it started in 2004, and we were probably the pioneers. I probably pioneered this thing of this kind of hotels, like a small boutique owner-run hotels. Somehow, like I said, as luck would have it, the first hotel that came on board was one of the best conservation-oriented lodges in the country. This was
Hmm.
Churat Koti, which started CC Africa. Later moved on, they took over to be one of their signature lodges in India, in Bandhavgarh. So every hotel thereafter that came and joined or were recommended, were all in the same, they were speaking the same language. The design was the same. The product design was the same. The concept design was the same. The narratives were different because each one had a different story to tell. So that kind of became the core of what Rare was: independent, standalone, small, owner-led, or led by visionary owners. So, and also destination oriented. They all focused more on the destination. So I didn't bother about how the hotel was. It didn't matter to me if views and all of that was a given, right? What I focused more on was what was the destination. What was it giving to you? What does it bring to the table? What did it allow the traveler to experience? How different it was from the usual tourism hubs. So that was how it was. And uh, in about 15 years, and especially after in the last 2-3 years, what I did was all these things about conservation and responsible tourism. We are a part of Responsible Tourism Society of India. All the attributes that you would want with respect to climate change, which already existed. It was a great intelligence with our hotels. We brought that to center focus, and we made it our brand promise to say these were conscious luxury hotels, believing that they would be future ready. COVID happened, and I think, like always, we were like a few 4 years before our time, and I think we are in that space where we can talk about it and say, listen, I don't want to say I told you so, but we said, okay, here's, if you're looking at innovation, please don't leave sustainability out of it.
Thank you, Shobha. Pallavi, what's your take on that? Sorry, your journey.
Yeah. So I'm basically from Delhi and happened to go on a backpacking tour through Europe with a bunch of friends who were students at that time. So they didn't have too much money. That was the first time I got to experience backpacker hostels in Europe. And I was like, oh my God, why don't we have this in India? This is such a beautiful way for young people to explore their own country together and have fun while they're staying at a particular place, as well as exploring the destination with strangers that eventually become your friends. So I carried that thought back with me in 2011. And in 2014, I opened my first backpacker hostel in Varanasi. It's been an amazing journey over the last 6 years. And we are present in 15 locations across the country today. Like our tagline reads, it's live social, experience more. So it's largely about interacting with people while you're traveling, because part of travel is to learn from the people you interact with and the place that you see. And when you travel and experience new things with people around you, the experience is so much richer than if you would have done it alone. So that's the pillars that we stand by. And yeah, during COVID, it's been a bit challenging, but given the fact that our target audience is 20 to 30-year-old young people who are least affected by COVID and who are likely to come out uh, rather unharmed from this. And I'm way above 30. So, but yeah, the 20 to 30, we're hoping we're going to bounce back pretty soon.
Thank you, Pallavi. Anubhav, what's your? It sounds so good. You're calling my name so many times.
Thank you, Headstart. Thank you, everybody out here. And so nice to hear the stories of Shobha and Pallavi. And I think you would have widely chosen, these people. Everybody is so diverse. Shobha, different. Pallavi, So I'm on the other extreme of what Shobha is doing, basically. Well, I graduate. I mean, like, did my schooling from army school, and then have been a activist, I would say, right from the time I was a student. And post that, I did my engineering. Afterwards, I started, I'm a certified instructor grade mountaineer. So I've been climbing, going here and there. Being an activist, I was always like working on something or the other, even while I was a student and later on when I joined the corporate world. When the corporate world was, then I was typically a hardcore, you understand what a cubicle is like, so I was working there, and then worked in the mathematics analytics domain for long years, like almost 13 years, and then actually I'm absolute a traveler at heart who wanted to explore more than one culture in one life. And so much so that I don't want to stay at my home. So I feel like, okay, eating the food which people don't like it, So like in Amazon and forests, I saw somebody eating some of the insects, and even if I don't like it, but I wanted to have it just by watching them, they enjoy it. So that's what kind of philosophy I wanted. Let me enjoy the cultural variations which exist on this planet. It's just one life. Can I do that? And that's how I traveled all over the world extensively. More than 80 countries I traveled, and I was at a very senior position in the company as a vice president, heading the global vertical of one of the companies. But while doing all these things, in one of the expeditions, I was in Antarctica, and I was just thinking that why are we born? It was more of a spiritual call, That what am I doing? I'm getting all the luxuries of the world. Everything is there, But what's the key objective? What's the purpose? And since being a traveler who used to go to the rural parts as a traveler, I always used to question that, can I do something beyond that? And I realized that based on my consulting assignments, along with the team members, of course, there were companies which were investing like, hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. I could find that there's a white space, a big white space which existed in India as well. And that was that there are millions of villages in India who have preserved our cultural things, their culture, heritage intact. But unfortunately, those people were migrating to cities in search of job. But you understand, I'm talking about the unskilled migration, not the skilled migration. So skilled migration is a natural phenomenon. We are moving from one place to another because we find a job. But unskilled is always a forced phenomenon. And these people who are migrating, I'm talking about those who have preserved the culture in some form or the other. There were two problems with these people. The problem number one, these guys did not know the importance of the culture which they had. What Pallavi was just talking about, that that these young students or these young people who would like to explore, what Shubha you also mentioned about the experiential part of it, they do not realize the value of 200 years old house. They feel that it's a liability rather than an asset. And I feel that it's a kind of a diamond mine which needs polishing. I mean, the moment you polish it, let them be aware that please, what you have is an asset. But they will realize that it's an asset only if somebody gives a value for them. But who is going to give the value? There has to have an ecosystem which actually creates. When you look at the UNESCO, they're preserving so many great monuments. Awesome. Otherwise, these monuments would have collapsed. What I believe that every culturally rich pocket which is hidden somewhere is a piece of heritage also. And they deserve to be self-sustainable. And that is the core foundation of our organization, NotOnMap. We started with this belief that they also need to be self-sustainable. And then we went back and started, we created kind of a model village. We brought back some of the youth from the cities, from Chandigarh and Delhi, and it started somewhere in Himachal once, almost 3.5 years back. And then kind of creating self-help group, training them, capacity building, and everything we did that. And finally connected with the travelers. And the result was really humongous. In just very short span of time, they actually got their salary for more than six months, in fact, hardly in a month's time, I would say. They got that. And that was a very good success story for them. And that was the beginning, basically. With that foundation, we started, okay, every culturally rich pocket, why don't we actually go and ensure this, ecosystem? So rather than creating a destination, rather than creating a homestay, we thought to create thousands and thousands of micro enterprises. That's what our objective is, We are working towards that. We started with one village, but of course, right now we are working with more than 300 such communities in more than 14 states in India. And thankfully, our initiative, the model which we are framing up, that has been acknowledged and appreciated, awarded by people, and we are trying to continue to that. Not that we will do it. We want that, okay, let people copy the model and do that, because we are here to create the impact at large rather than just working in a short span, a small short pocket, and then I own it. I don't want to own it. Let the community own it. We are leaving the community to decide whatever they want to. But I actually am implanting the seed, training them, and create that enterprise so that they can run it all by themselves. So that's how actually everything started, and then we continue to move on even in these times. Yeah.
Interesting, very interesting to know this. So this is one common question is like, how much and how has this pandemic affected you as in your organization? And clubbing that with another question is, any innovative ways that your partners, like in your case, you're the house owners, or in Shobha's case, the hotel owners, they have taken any innovative approach to figure out how to survive this?
Who goes
Anyone
first?
can start.
Okay. So, it has been an unprecedented disruption. I've been in the industry since 2000, since 1995, and the plague was just before that. 1994 was the plague, and even then, I know my husband and everybody were going through this, but I did not realize. Then I saw 9/11, then I saw the 26/11, then the SARS, and everything. But nothing like this has ever happened to us, right? None of us were prepared for something like this. Even now, just like they say, dil behlane ke liye galib khayal acha hai. We want to say January will happen and thing, but the reality is something else. None of us know it, right? So in that sense, it has been really, it's been scary, really. So, but what we did with Rare, we are a team of about 15 people, is that we were on the verge of a very, very important annual event. We call it the Rare Showcase, which we've rechristened as the Sacred Travel Space. So it was supposed to be on the April 17th and 18th, and we've been working for almost nine months previous to that to get all the stakeholders, all the hoteliers to come together to start talking about it. We had people coming in from abroad. We had, agencies traveling from far and wide within India. We just, and the second lockdown was announced just, I think on the 14th of April. Immediately what we did with our 17th and 18th is we went online. We call it Rarefied, and we put this on the cloud. It just showed us that, my team, I think to my team and my partner hotels, it showed that we were thinking on our feet, right? I mean, as a marketing and a sales company, my work is to, create presence, right? And I think that's what we did. So it's been challenging in the sense there is no bookings coming to any hotels. The hotels are just beginning to open, but there are no numbers. I mean, there are no great numbers to show. So what do we do as a marketing and travel company? There are some hoteliers said there is no point in talking and doing what we're doing, but I believe that we continue to do what we do, which is to keep creating value, to keep creating narratives, to work around ideas, and just to keep highlighting ourselves and just keep the flag flying. I mean, I just need to, it has to be out, the stories have to be out. So that is what we did efficiently, not only keeping myself positive, to keep the team positive, create work for them and chase after them to do the work. So the team responded very well. It's just, since the first week of August, I've had to ask a few people to go on leave without pay. And I'm hoping that, as November comes up, things might change a little bit and we can have people there. We are also a small company. I mean, there've been some lucky incidences that happened to me in the last 1 year. So we do have a small nest egg, which is allowing me to pay my teams, though, smaller salaries. As far as initiatives or, innovations by the hoteliers are concerned, I think because all of them are so, are so focused on the community, and all of them, so many of them are off the beaten track. Their primary work is, of course, to upgrade skills to, and we've been trying a lot to do Zoom sessions on waste management, Zoom sessions on social media, on communications, on, a lot of, knowledge sessions have been done. So that's what we've been doing. But we continued with our, I think that's an innovation. I mean, we continued with all our events. We have a series of events. So we had a chai and samosa event, and we went live with it. And we said, chai and samosa with Rare, please make your tea, keep your samosa ready, take a picture and let's put it on Instagram, right? We did that. The other thing that we did, I didn't realize that the world had so many days dedicated to various issues. So there was the Tiger Day, there was the World Environment Day, there was the Handloom Day. Every day we kind of worked and we created a story using our hotel. So basically using every trick in the book, every tool in the box, every idea and narrative that came, that we could think of, to ensure that we were, we were focused, and we were highlighting what was very important at this point in time is India and the subcontinent. That's where we are. So that is, I think, what we did best, what we do best, and that is what we did best.
Pallavi, what's your take on this?
So basically for us, our hostels are places where people interact with each other. So it's largely that sense of community which keeps our travelers together, even whether they're staying with us or as we observe them interacting on our various groups. It's essentially exchanging stories and travel stories and experiences in life. The moment our hostels closed down because of COVID-19, I think the first thought that we had, much like what Shobha was mentioning, was to keep the community engaged. So we moved our common areas on Instagram, literally, with sessions every day in terms of maybe a gig, a poetry session, um, an art making session, a Zumba session, as long as people could interact with each other and keep engaging with each other. besides that, obviously, we took this time to make sure that most of our ground team was employed, was gainfully employed, because I think that was the need of the hour during COVID, that they should find a way to earn a salary, because hospitality is the worst hit. So it's not like people are going to be able to earn anywhere else. So we kept most of our hostels open to the extent that the housekeeping staff and some of the managers were on duty regularly. It allowed us to clean the hostels more thoroughly. We did online training sessions for them regularly so that they were engaged. And we just hoped that we could use this time to build some skills, because we knew that it'll help us once we reopen after the lockdown. And obviously, we took this time out to study and write and create SOPs, which would help us even if there wasn't a lockdown around. So I think we did all of that. And I think the biggest thing that we wanted to do was keep our existing staff, existing team engaged and gainfully employed, and keep our community engaged. And I think we managed to do that pretty well.
Anubhav?
Great. Thanks, Anubhav. Thanks, Pallavi and Shubha. So nice to hear the kind of things which you guys are trying to do in these times. So I like, if you look at very categorically how you asked that, how the organization has been impacted. And I'm sure everybody talked about when we say organization, it's just not about the company as such, like goStops, NotOnMap, or Shubha Rare India. Basically our organization means the entire stakeholder spectrum. I mean, it's our customers also, our team also, and also the people whom we serve basically right now. So while we focus primarily, our focus is absolutely in the remote area. We do not want to divert at all, and we actually focused on, so we were actually capable of taking care of our people, means that our team members. I was mentioning in the initial, before this breakout time, that we are capable of actually handling our people. But how do we handle those people, which is really a large number? We actually thought very deeply, and we came out that entire pandemic, the current times, has given three key problems to the entire community. Problem number one, and that's common for everybody, that's the livelihood issue. Everybody, you, me, everybody, even the community that's getting impacted. They were some of them fully were dependent on travel as one of the economic vertical, because it was, by the way, a channel of bringing livelihood support system for them. The second thing which we thought the biggest problem, we tried to categorize, club everything together. The second was the engagement. So when I say engagement, like when the travel was happening, so the traveler would go there without even the host asking for people used to take pictures, posting on Facebook, Instagram. People were actually aware. So it was kind of an interaction happening. Even the villagers were actually aware. They were ready to host a guest. There was a kind of interaction happening. So that engagement, which was a kind of a human interaction, which was already happening that time, that human interaction leading to a digital interaction, and that further leading to engagement to the rest of the world, that actually stopped. It's point blank stopped. That complete, there's no engagement. So out of sight, out of mind. That situation may, if it extends for a longer time, that situation is going to come sooner or later, unless the situation improves. That was the second problem. The third problem, which we realized, of course, there could be many other, but we think that these three actually club a lot of the problems faced by these people. Primarily, when we talk about these rural communities, they are getting so much of information. The world is filled with information coming from WhatsApp, this newspaper, central government, state government, district administration. It's so much dynamic also in nature. WHO is saying something. ICMR is saying something. Government of India is saying something. Again, district administration is saying, these people, this government, these local people. We work with the panchayat level, even below panchayat level. These people get confused. What to do now? I mean, that's the kind of, okay, what next? Okay, one person says, okay, you have to wear hand gloves. Okay, fine. We will buy hand. Another day it comes, you need to have a CCTV camera. Or somebody says something else, So many regulations are coming. And this is not just I am saying, we had interact. Of course, we are connected with them. So we actually come and talk to them. And we realized that this is the biggest issue which we actually faced. Now, so for all these three things, the first is the livelihood, second is the, I talked about the engagement, and the third was this one, the kind of confusion, unawareness, kind of a rumor also. We thought to come with some solution for each one of them. So we came up with the one solution for each of the three verticals. And we already started it, some of the projects which we started in the month of April, and right now also continuing forward. So for the engagement stuff, what we decided that, okay, what Pallavi, you were also saying that, okay, you also try to handle engagement. That's a big issue. Everybody, all of us are facing that, you're trying to make it digitized, making your common area as a, kind of a Instagram page and conducting sessions. What we thought, why does a traveler go to a remote area? Does he go just to stay there and eat food? Is that all? Or not at all? That's going to be a lot more than that. Of course, all of us being a traveler, we know about it. What we thought, and then one project there are a lot of things to be done. We decided to do one thing, and that is mapping the rural skills of India by using the power of mobile phones, by taking the audio and video record, narrating, collecting the oral traditions of India, which were passing from grandma to the mother and to the children, and these stories, by the way, are not the typical stories which actually has got superstitions. We're talking about the stories of traditional sports and games. We're talking about the festivals. We're talking about the stories from the nature which were actually having some sort of knowledge which should ideally be disseminated to the other cultures also, other communities also, so we categorize these stories into 5 or 6 categories. We have done that, and basis that we're actually trying to kind of digitize this entire oral traditions, and a lot of effort. I mean, the team members are not here, but I have hands off to those guys. They're working there. You don't know how difficult it is to connect with those people. You tell them in phone, they don't understand what to do. Forget about record it, and they would not know what is the meaning of recording. We're not dealing with the people who understand, who read newspaper, they understand thoroughly. And so for one particular thing, you have to communicate so many times. Day, nights, all the team members are working, they're like highly passionate. So that is something which we started, and even the Ministry of Culture, CCRT, they also appreciated. They said that it's something which is going to be one of the things. We are calling it Lok Dhara Abhiyan. We are not owning it. We don't want to own it again. We want that this kind of movement should start from every community, all of us. Anubhav, your village also. Why don't you actually start getting these stories and let people know? It's going to be an absolute open source to be used by the world. Anybody can use it. We started it. We already have got around 1,000 such stories from everywhere. We are trying to work on it so that it becomes open source available. On 22nd of August, World Folklore Day, we are going to do something called Folk-thon. It's like north to south, east to west. We are actually inviting people who will be narrating the stories in their own regional languages. So that is something which is establishing the engagement. So at least even we start talking to them, even UNW said that, I think Shobha yesterday also we were mentioning, and we also are cognizant of this fact that trust is the most important thing. And you establish trust by communication. And this is the time of not communicating, but over communication. You have to talk, just talk to those people. They feel confident. They feel, okay, somebody is standing with me, even if you talk and just say hi. And when you're collecting these things, these stories, it comes at a big cost to us, of course, But of course, that's what we are committed to. That's what these communities. If you don't do that, those communities will also leave in due course of time. And that was one of the solutions which we did for this thing. And we are actually working towards it, trying to invite everybody, whoever is part of it. Let's co-own it. We're not owning it, and we're keeping it open source. The solution for the Travival project, which we started again, one of the projects which we started, we are calling it, we just gave a name. I mean, nothing fancy about it. We're calling it NotOnMap. What we're doing is we're connecting the producer to the consumer directly. So these farmers, so I had a chat with one of the guys, one of the community we are working in Sikkim. And these guys said that, okay, we don't have money. And if we get 6,000 rupees, maybe 2 months of our, survival will be there. This guy was growing honey, nice honey, We're not selling it. We connected with our travelers. We said, okay, this is a farmer. Why don't you go and buy it directly? So we are connecting, sharing the phone number, let them talk to each other. So 1,200, 1,300 rupees kg, and this guy sold like 4 kgs of honey. And this guy is like, oh my God, great. If you can't sell accommodation, if you can't sell food, there are many other things, And we're not talking about selling. We're creating a value props, So kind of creating an ecosystem, and we're calling it NotOnMart right now, that connecting the producer to the consumer directly without any middleman, not even us being the middleman. We are being just the facilitator. So these people directly talk and then finally share. And right now, by the way, we have actually supported more than 4,500 farmers, in just 2 months for this particular initiative. No business right now, no NotOnMap here, no revenue here, but these families are supported. So that was the solution for the first problem. We continue to work on that, and let's see where it goes, and invite everybody who want to be actually part of it. Let's, spread the word for this one if you feel like. The third solution, that is for the third problem. I said that the confusion, which is there out there.
So how are you educating your partners on, hey, you know what, on the COVID side, on the precaution side and all? Because every news channel, every government, and every even UN, when you get multiple information, it confuses people. Some, and then there are WhatsApp universities.
Sure.
So so
No.
what's your what you people are doing? I mean, I would like Pallavi and Shobha also to throw some light on this. How are you educating your partners on COVID related precautions and other things?
So,
Go ahead.
so go ahead. Sorry, I'm sorry.
Anubhav, you can complete. I mean, the third point is pending.
Yes.
Maybe let Shobha talk. Yeah, I've already spoken. Please,
No,
I'll
no, no.
still.
You finished the third. I mean, I was listening intently to it. You should finish it. And
Yeah.
I
So,
thought Anubhav was doing an Anubhav on you, so he cut you off and say, you say this now. Go ahead. Sorry, go finish the third point. Yes.
yeah, so basically, and that's a valid point, Anubhav, which you put forward, and realizing that thing, we thought to do a 5-phase experiment, not experiment, a task, and it's pretty extensive. Don't have so much of time to express about everything, but I'll give you a gist of it. We connected with all the stakeholders. I mean, the rural communities, and a series of sessions, calling them, trying to understand the problems they are facing. We might feel that they're facing the problem of hygiene or these things. Who knows that they're facing some other problems also. So we tried to first of all gather those list of the problems which the rural communities are facing. Having understood that, we definitely realized that safety is one of the biggest thing. What we did, since our focus was primarily the rural communities, the homestays only, and the current guidelines, you don't find so much so than exclusivity of guidelines coming for those homestays. What we did, our team members, they actually picked up all the guidelines released from everywhere. And that is like from the UN, WTO, from WHO, from government of India, from different governments, everything we collected it, studied it thoroughly, basis that we came up with a set of guidelines which potentially a homestay can ideally do. We are also prepared as some sort of a charter that which we are going to be going to reach out to the government also, saying that there are certain things which these communities members cannot ever do. And I'm sure, Shubha, you have been doing from so long period of time, you would know the sensitivities and the constraints which these villagers face. They can't follow every guideline put forward by the government. So we try to come up with a comprehensive guidelines which is going to be as per the requirements or as per the guidelines which these people can in the rural area can follow. And we actually translated into 14 of the 15 in fact regional languages of India, and then circulated it to those people that okay, these are the things which you can potentially do. Don't be confused, at least do these basic things. That was the first stage basically, and this first stage consisted of 3 phases. The next phase which we are doing, that is the most extensive phase, and we are the work is already started. It will take around 3 months more. We are coming up with a series of training videos. It's going to be a pretty large number of a course, kind of a guidelines, and that is going to be again with focus on the rural people only, and it's going to be very extensive, like maybe more than 200 videos, very short videos with question answers. And these people, and that's going to be across so many categories. We have categorically thought about 10 categories, by the way, and in each of the category, what are the things which ideally, everything right from the time of setting up a homestay till the time you are matured and you are looking at the current situation, even to handle. So everything we are trying to come up with those video guidelines, and those will be again will be kept as an open source. The entire training manual will not be limited only for the NotOnMap destinations. It will be open for any homestay in the India, whosoever they would like to. They just see, watch it, and get trained on those things. So no physical. So we are using the power of that digital technology. And by the way, in this particular videos, we have the SMEs, some people from the government also. They are also like, when they got to know about it, they are very much excited. Some of the really senior people who have spent like 30-40 years in the sustainable world, they're also part of as the kind of expert guidelines putting forward, apart from we putting. And anybody else here also would like to actually be part of it, absolutely. This is again going to be an open source to be accessed by anybody. So I would like to have input from the people who are also having an experience like Shobha, rich experience of working for decades. I mean, we are too small, we've been learning from you and trying to implement things. But that's the kind of, thing which we start to solve for, so that these communities, they do not get. Again, by the way, these particular videos, they are going to be in 16 regional languages in India, except Hindi and English. Because these communities, they do not understand many places
Exactly.
English or Hindi also.
Exactly.
So we are going to translate in so many languages. And we are promising to complete it by maybe by November mid sometime. All the things will be released. Work is already on. But that is the kind of a plan we have for everybody. And that's again going to be open source for everybody to use it.
Great, great, great. Thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
Shobha, what's your take on the information sharing about the how to be more effective and safe in these times for your partners?
So, I mean, for us, information is because our partner hotels exist in these small rural areas. They become the hub of information because the community works with them. So they kind of they're like their MyBab. I mean, they are the ones who tell them what is happening. You know, they are very very diligent in the fact that they will not open the hotel if they are not convinced. That every traveler who comes on board is going to be safe, and he's not going to, you know, he's not going to carry the disease into their community. Because even if it is a hotel where it is 10-15 rooms where 15 people from the community are working with you, you don't want everybody on the property has to be safe and healthy and COVID free, right? So information within the community and in the destinations are handled by the hoteliers themselves. Now, I mean, the rare hoteliers, like I said, they're all, mostly of them are non-hoteliers, and they also come from, come from backgrounds that actually believe a lot in sustainability. And one of the things that we put it out right there in the beginning is that solutions to COVID hygiene and safety has to be very simple, because you don't want to bomb the earth and environment for a virus whose best defense is soap and water. The second is, of course, not to create paranoia, right? Both for the traveler and for the thing. So if you look at our website, you'll see there are 10 very, very simple things that each and every hotelier follows. Of course, just like Anubhav mentioned, all the COVID protocols. They could be they could be your MOT, it could be WHO, UNWTO, Responsible Tourism Society of India has come up with their guidelines. There is also something called Singapore Clean, which is quite nice. There are also smaller organizations. They are coming up with very sustainable solutions to a lot of these reusable, make and use masks. Simple things like, instead of chemicals, using steam to make sure that you're cleaning surfaces and things like that. But don't forget, a lot of this is changing on a day-to-day basis. So there's, you don't want to create panic and then go back and say, no, that was not right. So from the beginning, rational has been one of the key things. The third, the other thing is how to map your green and red areas and orange areas. We started to say that every traveler coming to these smaller communities and offbeat places should be self-restrained. I mean, he needs to be conscious himself. So when he comes there, everybody has to take a pledge that he's travel positive but COVID negative. So that was a campaign that we ran. So mostly it is like that, and not everybody is in a hurry to open up. They want to take their time, because like I said, some of them were just on the verge of off season, so that didn't matter. Wildlife lodges are anyways close to. So our communication was largely to the potential traveler. So that we disseminated by we did small videos called reopening stories, so where everybody was saying. So more than anything, like I am always fond of saying, trust is going to be a very crucial factor here. You will trust either by saying, I'm going to go and stay in Anubhav's house, or I'm going to stay in the hotel Anubhav is built, because that's how you relate. And everybody has reported back to say it is the previous, it's a reference customer, or it's a previous customer who's coming and staying. One of the first customers have been reference customers. So quite simple, very, very simple messaging where safety concerns are concerned. And don't forget, whenever we are trying to, whenever COVID travel happens, post-COVID, what will happen is that you have the tour operator, you have the traveler, you will have the tour operator, and you will have the hotelier. You can use all three layers with a small boutique owner-run hotel, because they hold the, they are the ones who will ensure that they're going to keep, all the monitoring is being done by them. All the protocol monitoring is being done by them. So from the hotel itself will have its own set of regulations that they are following. Then the tour operator would like to check 10, 15 things. then the traveler might have a few challenges that he wants to check. So, you have, you are, you're assured that in 3 levels, you're able to make sure that any fears or challenges that a traveler might have is being looked into.
Thank you, Shobha. Pallavi, what's your take on this?
So pretty much that only, that we wanted to keep it simple. Like Shobha mentioned, it takes only soap and water to do the trick, luckily, with this virus. So I think we have about 100-member team. So I think our first objective was to make sure that those families are not panicking about the virus. And um, while they had a lot of fear about coming back to work, we had to make sure that we sort of tell them on a regular basis what do you need to do in order to sort of keep yourself safe, and how simple it is in terms of preventing infection, and in terms of building your immunity. I think that was the first step that we were trying to take. And when we tried to implement the various practices that we're going to follow now that most of our hostels are open again, it's largely revolving around the very simple things, which is your respiratory hygiene, wearing a mask most of the time, and um, steam cleaning, like Shobha mentioned. And there is fumigation that we use, which is not exactly sustainable. There is chemicals there. But I think that was also needed from our point of view, just to make the staff, the team also very confident that they're not going to get infected when they serve people after the hostels are open. So I think keeping that in mind, we put our recipes out there, which are very simple, 5, 6 things that we're going to do just to make sure that we fumigate our area and keep people safe. Because for us, following those things become very important, because essentially we're a social space. So we're not a space where people come and check into a room and then they go out trekking on their own. We're based on interaction. So we're calling our measures to allow socializing, uh, while maintaining social distance. So that was our biggest challenge. How do we make our common areas, how do we keep our common areas social while there is some amount of physical distancing in place? So we used the last 1 month to basically do that. And I think a lot of co-working and co-living spaces are also dealing with the same challenge, that how do you continue to be social while you increase distance in your spaces? And I think that was our biggest
That's a
challenge.
big challenge, yeah.
Yeah. We reimagined our common areas, we reduced the seatings, we introduced dividers. One of the most interesting things that we did was we used plants for dividers. So we just
That's a
divided
good idea.
we just divided the tables, separators were plants, made the room really nice. In fact, I'm sitting in one of my common areas.
Oh,
And
lovely.
so
Wow.
so so that allowed for the space to look nice and young and vibrant while there was division. Then in our dorms also, because we have multi occupancy dorms where people were checking in from who don't know each other. So we reduced the occupancy to 50% by putting tapes and dividers in place. So I think the idea is that we don't lose the essence of being social when we reopen, but we still keep it safe. So I think
Keep
that
it
was the
safe,
biggest
yeah.
challenge.
The other thing I must tell you, Anubhav and Pallavi, and for those listening in, just like at the airport, all your security checks and all, it's a theater, because the actual security is happening somewhere. The intelligence is behind you. This is just theater. So I think for people to feel comfortable, you need to keep that theater alive, that, which will be a little bit more than what you would essentially do, right? So that everybody is doing. And the one more thing I would like, I mean, I love this idea of plants as dividers. I mean, so much, people putting these plastic sheets in between, it just looks really gross. And that's such a great idea. The other thing is hotels like ours, the rare hotels especially, we've always promoted something called, the generous land to key ratios. I mean, we are talking about 1,600 acres and 8 suites. We're talking about 40 acres and eight cottages. So visually, even as words, they sound, they kind of adhere to this whole social distancing principle. Then it allows you only to say, okay, dining spaces, maybe let's create space, lounge spaces. And there is no typical check-in protocols in most of these offbeat hotels. So, so it kind of, all of this, in fact, see, I must tell you, if you ran a sustainable operation, if you ran a community-oriented operation, if you ensured that the premise of your hospitality is people and planet, is the post-COVID travel takes care of a lot of, I mean, the basic values of running a sustainable property or a responsible operation. It takes care of a lot of these things. I mean, look at what Pallavi is saying. 100 people, to keep them safe, to keep them, to keep them informed. Look at what Anubhav is saying, to keep all of them informed. So this is people first. You want to ensure that your people feel safe. Travelers will keep coming. But if my people don't feel safe, I mean, what am I going to do?
Thank you, Shobha. So, just to understand, all of you are running your company bootstrapped, right? I mean, have any one of you raised investments also?
Yeah, we've done.
Okay, you have done. You have raised investment. So now my next question would be around that. Like, do you think this would be still a investor-friendly space in coming 1 or 2 years?
Oh, of course. I mean, definitely yes. It's just like the new situation which has unfolded. It has created, of course, a lot of problems. But at the same time, for every problem, there is a solution. Who is there to find that solution? And everybody in respective domains, like Shubha has evolved in last decade from something to something to something, because she continued to face something and then she tried to innovate. Like Pallavi is talking about putting it green plants out there. Well, these are like might be in isolation with respect to your particular field, but the new current time has opened a Pandora box of opportunities for the people. Rather than being concerned for what you don't have, why don't people get concerned for what they can actually potentially opt for? And if you look at the kind of reverse migration which has happened, like everybody's talking, I'm not saying, I mean millions of talented workforce which has gone back, in the rural pockets. I think it's the time when you start thinking about those people as well. So many ecosystem can be prevailed. So many new dimensions can be created by capitalizing on the existing pool of resources with so much of talent, so much of knowledge, but maybe they do not know what ecosystem to work on. Somebody needs to plug in, go there. For example, I mean, a very classic example of when Uber started. I mean, the concept of Uber would not have been possible if internet was not there. But Uber was a philosophy. It was of course a company, but this philosophy led to birth for so many companies. I mean, the classifies is in US, you have the Uber for the babysitters, just the work, the way cars are there, you have babysitters who are actually going out, just copy. So it's just somebody trying to create that ecosystem in the existing dimensions. Yeah.
Yeah,
Shobha, I think you're trying to say something.
no,
Yeah.
I feel in the travel scenario to do things like that. See, Uber is it. I mean, I always heard this, that are you a technology company or are you a travel company? Uber is a technology company, right? It's a technology company.
Absolutely.
By the way, they do cars. By the way,
Absolutely.
they do
Of course,
babysitting, right? But travel essentially will, I mean, with everything that we want to say as experiences, as things like that, I doubt technology could take the word and the idea and the sentiment far and wide. But it should be seen within the ambit of that. It has to primarily be a travel company. Otherwise, it loses its steam, right? I mean, imagine Pallavi talking about, the focus of it still has to be the hostels. That is the focus, right? And I must tell you, I mean, I have a partner. I have a fantastic strategic partner who, leads the whole. I mean, entrepreneurs per se are slightly crazy. So I have a partner, but I mean, we don't have investments yet, but I can tell you there is a lot of interest. And I think one of the things that we should all be doing in case you were looking for investment is to start creating value for your companies. I mean, and innovation is a value. To show somebody that I'm beginning this and this is going to see you through for 15 years is an innovative idea. I mean, otherwise people think of very short-term ideas. And for you, Anubhav, I just wanted to tell you, UNESCO has this thing called, it has the built heritage listing. It has the intangible cultural heritage listing. Please look it up. They are looking at folklore. They are looking at martial arts. They are looking at crafts that they can bring under the ambit and put it on the map, put it on the world UNESCO map. So that's the kind of innovation that I think at any given point in time, people will still be looking to invest in companies like that. And that's what we are doing at Rare. We're just creating value. We kind of, every day is spent on thinking what is something new that can be done that will take the idea Rare to places. We came up with this lovely idea called the Rare touchstone, which is basically the attributes you will be looking at, asking travelers to start exploring differently. So it's just not about your room, your this and your luxury. That is imminent, right? Obviously, if you're on the Rare list, you're audited to be that. But touchstones, Rare touchstones, as they're called, is the compass wheel. Each needle pointing to one responsible tourism attribute that each and every hotel should have, which every traveler should look at. You instead of saying is that how close to the national park gate that hotel is, you should start encouraging travelers to say, what is that travel, what is the travel, the hospitality or the travel project is likely to do. For instance, Anupam, your company would say, I create jobs for 5,000 people in the rural community, right? Say the same thing with that. So why about travel is going to be very important. And one of the things, when you again define as sustainability, is the very premise of travel and hospitality changes. And I'm very fond of saying this: the premise of travel and hospitality will be that it has to sustain, and it has to create value and positive impact for the local communities. It has to create jobs. You have to ensure that you buy locally, economic development, and health benefits, education, everything for the local community. And that is what, through hotels, that we do. You could do it through experiences. You could do it through hostels. The second most important thing is that the destination, it is the responsibility of every traveler, traveler, to ensure that the pristine quality of the destination is maintained. What is the point in trying to make Ahmedabad look like Singapore, for instance? Right? Ahmedabad should look like Ahmedabad. So every tourism stakeholder should ensure that the inherent qualities and attributes of Ahmedabad stays as it is. That is defining its cultural heritage, its intangible cultural heritage. एक जगह का samosa famous है, that space where that guy comes and sits down with his samosa and says, that is intangible, right? It's just not about the samosa. It's also about that Baburam who sits there and sells samosa. So that is the kind of things that we've been working on. And I think this has got huge potential for growth.
Thank you, Shobha. So from where I was coming from regarding the investment is seeing the industry, like say for instance, say aviation industry, people have started pulling money out of it because no travel is happening, and as we see, even if the flight operations are on, the operations are at a very minimum scale. So do you think, and good that you brought this point of technology, your if I understand it right, all three of you is not much on the tech side, as other startups are there related to Oyo and other backpackers and others. So do you think there is still a confidence that investors will have in the industry that you're operating, especially the type of startups that you three are running? So that is where I wanted to understand whether investors are still interested in taking their bets on this particular sector.
Anubhav, one thing I would like to say, my comment on this question is, what Shobha just mentioned, that's absolutely the baseline for the new norm, which is going to be there. So what was niche earlier will be the necessity in the coming times. That's how the travel future is going to unfold. Earlier, it could be that, okay, sustainability or responsible tourism is okay, I do it, somebody doesn't do it. But based on the kind of enforcement which is coming globally, this will be the thing which everybody, right from five-star hotels to a small hotel or a small homestay, rural pockets, they will have to kind of imbibe some degree of sustainability within their basket, the moment. And that thing was not happening earlier. Now, can you actually create that ecosystem? What Shobha was mentioning about the samosa and Babu Ramji, I also keep saying that, okay, when you go to see Taj Mahal, you buy a ticket and go, and you just don't watch that building, you watch every little place out there. But there you have a ticket to buy. But when you go to a small village, I'm talking about that, you stay there, you eat food in that same place, you pay money. But when you go out, which is in most of the cases you do, you don't just stay there. You see so many people walking around. You see, somebody working on something. Do you pay any money? Of course you don't. There's no ecosystem which exists to pay. But ultimately, your very purpose of going there is not just to stay and eat food, but apart from nature, apart from adventure, it's these people, these stones, these Baburam, Samosa, and these people. These are the reason for you to visit there. But do you have an ecosystem which entails, which enables, to make that so that they also get some share of the economy? But for that, technology, I believe, technology is required to enable that. However, in a smaller scale, of course, we are doing it, by the way, in all our communities. We are definitely ensuring that it is being passed. But can that be scalable to that extent? And that's where, if you want to do it at pan India or maybe at a larger scale, maybe technology will be there. But to answer your question, whether the investment will be there, they feel the need, they feel the push. When there is a need, when there is a push, when there is a demand, definitely somebody who is creating the ecosystem will be valued. It's
Thank
just
you,
that
Anubhav.
who actually takes that call.
Thank you, Anubhav. So my next question is around sustainability and responsible tourism only. I would like to start with Pallavi. So, I mean, we hear these words, but are the customers in knowledgeable enough to understand what sustainability, or are they aware about what sustainable and responsible tourism is? And if all three of you have to explain to people who are coming to use your platform, and through your platform experience travel, experience the locals, what how do you enlighten them, or how do you explain them their role or their bit in sustainable and responsible tourism? Pallavi, to start with you.
Yeah, so before I answer that question, just to answer your previous one, which was on investment, I think tourism in general is something that is, traveling is something which is very essential to people. It may be delayed, but it'll happen. People have to get out. It's not one of those things which can be parked away for too long. And I think we've noticed that even when the June 8th unlock was announced, a lot of people decided to head out. Few, a fewer number, but they did, because I think essentially people want to head out. So I don't think that investment in this sector is not going to flow in because of COVID-19. It may be a little delayed, but everybody knows that this is going to end at some point, and people are going to travel for various reasons, and different age groups and different income segments will react differently to how all of this pans out. But there is an opportunity out there, be it for like a NotOnMap, which is about taking people to offbeat places, and which may be isolated by the very nature of the place itself. So there is fair amount, or the villas which are doing, if we've checked and we've spoken to a lot of online travel agencies like GoIbibo, MMT, and so on and so forth. And the villas and homestays these days are doing much better. Like 5 people, 6 people, 10 people of a family are heading out together because they must get out. But they're comfortable with taking a place to themselves, which doesn't have anybody else in it. So travel and tourism will not get funding. I don't think that's a very big possibility. So yes, I think funding will flow into travel and tourism fairly quickly, if not immediately. Coming back to sustainability and responsible tourism, most of our properties are in big cities, so we're not sustainable by the nature of what we're doing. It's not like we make a conscious effort to um, uh, you know use the best practices or pick up a green building or so on and so forth. But for us, at least the definition of responsible tourism very early on became that we're going to charge a fair price for a product, because we're going to pay a fair wage to the people who are working with us. Within our industry, there was a massive race for chasing down to the lowest price point. Okay. And so we made a call very early on that we will not reduce the price point that we're selling at. And if it takes a lot more effort to educate our guests that we're not going to do that, because we are not going to pay less, our staff any lesser, or we're going to compromise on their wage levels, we're not going to do that. So that kind of responsible tourism is something that we tried to bring in right from the beginning, to explain to people that we're going to pay fair wages. Um, Other than that, I think by virtue of the way we are designed, we are small properties and we have many beds in them. We are at a fairly low price point. So we always wanted to be a tightly run ship, right? So very early on, our cafes and everything already had disposable, biodegradable, disposable plates and utensils, and we were not using any of the, washable cutlery, because we couldn't have afford to we couldn't afford to keep so many people on board, so many team members on board. That much we did, but and we followed, because of what we are youth centric. So from the beginning we have followed something which is we call the non-AC green hours. So it doesn't make my building sustainable. For 8 hours our ACs are shut off in the dorm rooms from about 12 o'clock in the afternoon to 8 in the evening, and everybody is in the common areas. So we're not using as much electricity as we would have used had we run an operation with only private rooms in it. So these are some of the steps that we've taken, and people appreciate it. I think young people appreciate that. If you talk about it, they acknowledge it and they act upon it. I think the onus is on the business to talk about it. Then people really do respond positively.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Go
Sorry.
ahead, Shobha.
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry, I was on mute, Shobha. Yeah,
Okay.
I
So
thought
I was just waiting for you to say
yeah,
something.
yeah,
No,
yeah.
so to be very honest, not everybody knows the entire ambit of what sustainability or responsible tourism is. First of all, there is the huge, you want to know what is sustainability, you want to know what is responsible tourism. Sustainability is a more blanket word, and it applies to industries all across. Every business has to include sustainable values into their operations, and that is the norm. This conversation is so loud, you cannot keep yourself out of it. Responsible tourism, so sustainability then in the tourism business becomes an aspiration. You all want to run a sustainable business. Responsible tourism is the path you would walk on to reach the aspiration of sustainable travel or sustainable operations or whatever it is. So that is, having said that, so what all figures in the ambit of sustainable travel? Like fair wages is definitely one. Local employment is definitely another one. What you do with your water, definitely. What do you do with your garbage, most importantly? Some initiatives, like she said, the green hour, when their air conditioning is not necessary. Let's not think about sustainability as that one is just you're coming and staying with us and you're being sustainable and going away. It also has the potential to sow a seed in somebody's head. Right? Somebody comes and stays in Pallavi's hostel, and then they figure out this green hour and they realize, dude, I don't need air conditioning, at 4 o'clock in the evening or 5 o'clock in the evening. Why am I doing it at home? Right? If it is March or it's February, I don't need air conditioning. So it has all these initiatives has the potential to sow the seed, so don't discount that when you're talking about sustainability, in whatever small or big way it is. Conservation of heritage. Wilson out there is talking about conservation and what happens to a heritage building. A building that is being built, a building that's been repurposed from an originally existing this thing into a hospitality project is a sustainable opportunity in itself. Right? It also encourages other people to do the same thing. And let's not talk only about royal buildings. What about vernacular architecture? the old mud houses and the village homes and things like that. So all of that comes into it. What do you do? How do you locate yourself? I mean, if you are in the, like she's talking about hostels. So Pallavi is talking about hostels. So you are in a town. Where you're located and how many rooms that you want to put. Is it a sustainable operation? I mean, having a 400 room hostel versus having a 10 to 15 room or a 20 room hostel, that is a part of sustainability. I mean, it just increases energy efficiency, right? So there is a huge and growing list of things that you will add into the responsible tourism thing. Now, what also responsible tourism, the word responsible tourism does, it puts the onus, it distributes the owners right from the big stakeholder, which is the tourism body, state tourism, the Ministry of Tourism, to service providers in all departments, the lodge owners, the travel agents, the guides, everybody who are service providers in that ambit, down to the traveler. Only then the responsible travel actually travels down the line, and it impacts, and it actually works where it should be working. So that is the whole ambit of sustainable travel. And currently, no, there is not such a great push for sustainable travel, and this whole bounce back when people say, is everybody going to become sustainable and things like that? No, I don't think so. But then COVID has given us the opportunity to start thinking, to start visualizing what a sustainable world might look like, what a sustainable operation might look like, what a sustainable hotel might look like, what a sustainable travel company should look like. Right? So those conversations are happening, right? And these conversations are not only valid to businesses, they're happening in schools. They're happening in colonies, they're happening in gated communities. They're happening everywhere, right? So eventually your awareness has to catch up with what is happening around the world. I always believe it's very, very easy to be sustainable. It's as simple as A, B, and C. Awareness, belief, and choice. You're aware that climate change is a reality and you are responsible for it because of the excesses we have to create. The second is belief. You believe that each one of us can make a difference. And once you are A and B, once your eyes are open, you cannot but choose responsibly, right? That's as simple as that.
Thank you. Anubhav, what's your take on it?
Yeah, I mean, because of paucity of time, of course, I wouldn't take long to actually explain. Shobha and Pallavi, they have all actually summarized everything. We have classified sustainability in certain verticals, but what I'll do is I'll give you a different, opinion, and just taking from ABC, what Shobha you mentioned, I'll take it from the choice part of it, and that is just based on my experience. So not talking per se that what we do as a sustainable organization. Our foundation is basically sustainability, so we do a lot of things. But let's talk about one thing which is in the spirit of every participant who is out here, and that's what I've realized, Shubha. I think maybe we can talk later also, and that's a very interesting thing. It's been intriguing in my mind, See, human, and that very nicely put, ABC, you put forward. The thing is, if you look at it, human being by nature, all of us by nature are convenience freak. We are a convenience freak social animal. I'm not saying many other animals are also like that, If you are given two choices, which one will you choose? Unless you are so, you will choose something which is absolute sustainable. And we have tried to do A/B testing also in our organization, with our customers, with our host also. Even this times, pandemic times, we have been training our host to do something, but ultimately they talk about, okay, give me money. I mean, we have customers, So their focus is on one thing, because that's what our human being, we focus on our immediate needs. And what that one more point Shobha mentioned, which is very important, it's not about sustainable tourism. And that's what we also focus on. It's about having a sustainable mindset. You live sustainably right when you're sitting in the car or traveling in a bus, not for travel, just travel normally. I mean, human being by nature, again, we have been travelers since nomadic times. We have been traveling all the time. Are we sustainable by mindset, And if we are that, that will be reflected in our, ecosystem, that is when we are traveling also. So the problem with this is that since we are convenience freak by nature, whatever sustainability philosophy you implement in your existing setup, maybe in a homestay, hotel, or a community, most of the people, I would not say what percentage of the people would actually follow, but a lot of people actually would not follow, even if they might believe in it, because we like, a little bit convenience. I like 2 lights, 4 lights, they would. Some people would like to actually switch on just one light. Some people would say, no, I'd like larger lights, And I think that is where, so we are talking about bringing a cultural change, a value change in the mindset. And whenever you're trying to bring a cultural change, it comes through education. It takes a generation to actually be there. I see a lot of young kids coming from school, and they have been taught in their kindergarten and the classes. Okay, the moment they see a light open, they switch it off. I'm talking about at home. They just switch it off. I also want to switch it off, but they're more cautious. I don't know how come they're more cautious. They're being taught, or they're, subconscious brain. When you are driving a car, you are handling every equipment in tandem because you are in tune with that. To bring to that level, it requires a cultural shift, and that is not possible to have, so much so in one generation. And that is where you need to have a policy. Unless you have a strict policy, what Pallavi said, I will be switching off my AC for these many hours, and I will say it very sound and loud to all my customers. Are you ready? And likewise everywhere. So the onus is on Pallavi. To what degree can she be sustainable? Not on the customer. She is taking the risk that some customer we might lose, and then she can try fine tuning her vertical, that okay, I will make this much more sustainable, this much more sustainable. And I think the moment you, and it comes at a cost for sure, a little bit at a cost, because you are marketing, you are doing a lot of things, and you are losing also. So I would say that some level of policy level changes, if it happens, definitely the community people, the travelers, everybody would start coming, and that will be a little much faster, I would say, the sustainability as a mindset rather than sustainability as a sustainable tourism. So that will be my take on this.
Yeah, I also feel that the time is right. I mean, everywhere. I mean, like they say, when you want something to happen, the entire universe gathers together. I think that kind of situation is where we are. I mean,
very true.
The schools are talking, the younger generation is tuned in. You open the television, Greta Thunberg is happening. So I think I'm very positive that this is going to go forward much faster. And don't forget, Indians traditionally, we are about thrift. Our traditions teach us the value of thrift. So it's not an alien concept to us.
Indeed. No, that's a very important point you put forward. That time is right. People are ready to perceive, accept, and follow. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much. I mean, it was very interesting, and I myself learned a lot about what are the ways in which we can be more responsible as a tourist, and we can enjoy, but also keeping in mind how we can support the nature around. So with this, that was our last question. With this, we will end the session. And so just one quick on a lighter note, there was a question in the chat for Pallavi, which I guess she missed. She was saying that we are young. So what is the bar for young that is decided? Somebody asked Pallavi. So Pallavi, if you can quickly answer that. So we will close this session post that.
No, so we have no age limit at our hostel. I think the idea is it's an attitudinal limit. Attitudinally, are you okay with sharing spaces and experiences, and you're comfortable with having people around? Then you're most welcome, and there is no age limit. The only thing is at the lower age limit we do have, wherein anybody below 18, we encourage people to have chaperones with them, because we also host school groups. So then we request for a chaperone, and we don't give dorms to younger people, like people below 18 years of age, without a chaperone. But or if the entire dorm is their own, then it's a different story. But there's no upper age limit, no.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Pallavi. Thank you, Shobha. Thank you, Anubhav. It was very interesting session, and we got a lot of insights from you. Thank you for taking out of your time out of your schedule and addressing our audience. It was great. Thanks a ton.